The carriage carrying Ayla, whom Winfred had dreamed of even in his dreams, gradually approached and stopped right in front of him. He looked at the carriage door with a trembling heart, imagining it opening and the person he was waiting for coming out. It was as if time was flowing slowly, every movement felt slow. He felt like his heart was going to explode. However, contrary to his expectations, the first to get off the carriage was not Ayla. "You are here, Your Highness, the Crown Prince. Have you been waiting a long time?" It was his father, Roderick. "No. My father and I just arrived, so don't worry." Winfred tried hard not to show her disappointment, but unfortunately, she wasn't very good at hiding her expression, and Roderick noticed her despondency. Of course, Roderick didn't care, as he already knew that he was not the one the Crown Prince was looking forward to. "Your Majesty the Empress." "Oh, Mother wanted to come too, but she was sick and couldn't." Winfred grimaced as she thought of her frail mother. She had always felt unwell since giving birth to him, but lately she was spending more and more days in bed. "Winfred, why don't you go escort the princess out of the carriage?" At this time, Hiram, who had been sitting in his chair, stood up, patted his butt, and spoke. It was an offer Winfred couldn't refuse. While standing in front of the carriage with a tense expression, Ayla finally appeared. She seemed to have grown a little since he last saw her. "Your Highness, the Crown Prince, I am Ayla hailing Weishafen. When did you acquire such a perfect label?" Ayla gently grabbed the hem of her long coat, which reached to her toes, and bowed politely. It was a dress-type coat, tight at the waist and with a voluminous drape. With a proud, sharp expression and impeccable manners, she was the epitome of the perfect lady. Somehow, I had kept seeing her for a few years, dressed in white pajamas and introducing herself with the last name Weishafen. "Yes, Noor, nice to meet you." Winfred extended her hand. He wanted to hit his head for stuttering like an idiot, but he couldn't display such pathetic behavior in front of Ayla. Ayla took Winfred's hand carefully and looked at him. Just as the girl in the white lace nightgown had grown and changed, Winfred had also changed a lot. He had grown considerably and his voice had changed. His voice, previously broken by the change of voice, was now a calm and beautiful voice. Although he still retained the happy and innocent expression of a child, his appearance had improved and he looked more like that of a grown man. When Ayla first saw him, she thought his facial features resembled Byron's and felt bad, but now that she looked at him, her impression was completely different. Since a person's personality was naturally reflected in their face, perhaps it was natural. The sharp, chiseled jaw and delicate, pretty facial features somehow made Ayla's heart race. It was a brief moment as he got off the carriage, but that moment of holding hands felt like an eternity. And then, a little later. "Noah is here too. Noah, we must greet your Majesty." Ophelia stepped out of the carriage, waving at Noah happily as she held him in her arms. At that moment, Winfred and Ayla let go of each other's hands in surprise, as if they had just woken up from a sweet dream. "Wow, Noah. Are you really Noah? I really don't recognize you." Winfred walked quickly towards Ophelia and Noah, fanning her face for no reason. Although he may have exaggerated a little to hide his embarrassment, it is also true that Noah's transformation was truly amazing. He was a newborn who couldn't even control his own body, but how did he grow so quickly in the time it took Winfred to see him? Noah didn't have much hair before, but now he had a lot more. But unlike Winfred, who was delighted to see him, little Noah was so afraid of the stranger's appearance that he clung to his mother's arms and would not let go. "It's a shame. I used to come here so often." Winfred pouted. Before Ayla returned, he stopped at every opportunity, glaring at her. Now, he had forgotten. It was a heartbreaking feeling. "A few months are almost a lifetime for a child, Your Highness. How can you remember when that happened? We need to be close again from now on." As Ophelia spoke with a big smile, Winfred sighed heavily. He had to win Ayla's heart, become a trusted man and win Roderick and Ophelia's hearts, and he had to be friends with baby Noah again. The road ahead seemed very long. As the warm sunlight fell on the calm lake, the water turned golden. The royal family and the Duke of Weishafen were sitting in a tent overlooking the lake, enjoying the peaceful scenery. In reality, they didn't need to do anything. Just sitting there quietly made them feel good. "All right," Hiram murmured, squinting at the surface of the lake. The misty sky was always sweet. "Oh, no." Hiram, who was about to fall asleep, was suddenly awakened by Ophelia's stern voice. Noah extended his hand as if fascinated by the various snacks arranged on the table. "Noah shouldn't eat this yet." "Here's Noah's." Ophelia calmed the baby and placed a plate in front of him. It was a plate of tasteless, barely seasoned baby cookies. But Noah, dissatisfied with his own miserable meal compared to the colorful cookies and cakes, turned his gaze to the whipped cream cake Winfred was eating. Winfred couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat as the baby looked at him with bright eyes. His parents said no, and he couldn't give it to her, but seeing her innocent eyes made him want to give it to her again and again, so he was worried. Noah didn't throw a tantrum or cry like most kids, she just stared at him, but that was painful enough for Winfred. "I'm sorry, Noah. I can't give it to you." It was when he was crying and apologizing that he couldn't understand it. "Excuse me, can I go for a horse ride?" Ayla, who had been restless and wanting to get on the horse, opened her mouth. "Of course. Have a good trip." Ophelia responded with a big smile. "I wonder if anyone would say she's not Roderick's daughter. He seems to enjoy horseback riding. Unlike most people." Hiram smiled mischievously, nodding at his son, and Winfred was quick to cover her father's mouth. He couldn't miss the opportunity to be alone with Ayla. Who would mind? Who would mind? "I wanted to ride a horse too, so I was about to get up." "Huh? Since when did our Win start to like riding horses so much? It's strange." "Shut up." Winfred followed Ayla, her face red, and grumbled. It was so annoying that a father, instead of helping his son in his love life, interfered in it. When they reached the lake promenade, the servants were leading 2 horses. Winfred's horse was dark brown with a shiny coat, and Ayla's was Winstay, a white horse she had been given for her birthday. He stared, deep in thought, thinking that the horse suited Ayla very well, but then he realized belatedly that Ayla's outfit was not appropriate for horseback riding, and he opened his mouth absent-mindedly. Yes?" But before Winfred could finish speaking, Ayla had already changed into a perfect riding outfit. He was wearing a riding suit under a long coat. Ayla, wearing a tight-fitting black vest over a loose white blouse and white jodhpurs underneath, tied her hair up with a sky-blue scarf and blinked slowly as if asking if there was a problem. "It's no big deal." Winfred, embarrassed, shook his head with an embarrassed expression. Ayla looked ready to mount, and took her place in the saddle with a lithe and dexterous stance. "Your Highness, you must get on the horse quickly." While Winfred looked at Ayla with a blank expression, Joseph, who was standing next to him, spoke in a low voice. "Yeah? Yes." He mounted his horse looking clumsy, almost strange. Compared to Ayla, he seemed completely unattractive. "If I had known this would happen, I would have practiced more." Winfred mounted her horse with a sad face. He had heard that Ayla was exceptionally talented, but he assumed that since she had only just begun to learn to ride a horse, her skill would not be that different from his, who had been riding for a long time. It was a serious miscalculation. As soon as he got on, he started walking at tremendous speed. The horseback ride he had imagined with Ayla was a leisurely stroll along the lake shore, chatting. Unfortunately, the reality was that following her trail was a daunting task. After running for a while, Ayla realized that Winfred was barely keeping up with her, panting, and stopped her horse. "Shall we pause and go? Let's chat for a while." After making sure that no one was there, Ayla asked in a low voice. He had a slightly embarrassed expression. She had been so absorbed in the cool breeze and the speed of the ride that she had felt so embarrassed that she had neglected her dear friend. At his suggestion, Winfred nodded with a very happy face. "Yes, okay.